Mohammed Sharif.
No.
Mama nyoko son o wiye ya son na namu Kian pa ni ba to wi oto mo ni o ya do mo si afiye ya o Mama nyoko son o wiye ya son den be mu o ya Kian pa ni ba to wi oto mo ni o ya do mo si afiye ya o Kian se pa yanju o kian se pa yanju o kian sa pa yanju o kian ma se pa yanju o so si olele ya si olele o ya si olele lele o ya si olele yo si olele amon manyo ko so wi ya son dan be mu Kian pa ni ba to wi oto mo ni o abi yan mi do mo si afiye ya o Kian se pa yan jiju o mama Kian se pa yan jiju o re son ke wo kian ya Kian se pa yan ju o Kian ya uri mo ni mo re to le se ma bembe son bi Kian ya uri mo yo e abato ni Passion même oh Kian ya wi money Mo retole se ma même pio abiyan be Wo kian
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of Tough Talking Thursday. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Tough Talking Thursday, we're going to be talking tough on the following. The Joseph Newman Boakai's plan, or we look at his message since the campaign. The UP campaign launch, we're going to look at President Weah's address at the UN General Assembly, and there has been threats of war as we go towards election. Good evening and welcome to all our viewers from across the globe. I am joined today to speak on these matters by Dr. Abdullah Dukle. Dr. Dukle is a regular panelist here on Tough Talking Thursday. Doc, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Let me also welcome P. Morris Kroma, who has been on sabbatical for some time now. Morris is a JNB supporter. Welcome.
Thank you, Dennis. It's good to be here as well and to be in the company of Dr. Dukle.
Let me also welcome, who is off camera now, Mr. Kalebo Gonglo. Mr. Gonglo is also a regular panelist on Tough Talking Thursday. Mr. Gonglo, if you're there, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm happy to share the podium with Morris Kumai, who was for Boakai and against Boakai. I'm happy to share the platform with him, and also with Dr. Dukle.
Thank you. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. Welcome to Tough Talking Thursday. I want us to start with the president at the UNGA, the United Nations General Assembly, and he delivered a speech. In that speech, the president said a few things which I'm going to highlight. He said, among other things, we are proud of our achievements in reducing maternal mortality rates, increasing gender parity in school enrollment, and elevating our overall health and well-being. The president said that. Also, the president said some things about the national elections. He said, as a strong believer in democracy, let me reiterate my call for the respect of constitutional governance and respect for the will of the people. He continued, the National Elections Commission has been strengthened to ensure that it operates without undue influence. The government of Liberia has taken all necessary measures to ensure a free, fair, transparent, peaceful, inclusive, and credible elections. All right. Let me start by asking, I know Dr. Dukley follow a lot of these things. What is this UNGA all about? And why is it necessary that our governments attend it?
Well, I really don't know, to tell you the truth. I was part of 6 or 7 delegations to the UN. I never went to the building, ever. It's always, the president and the ambassador, the foreign minister, and the protocol person. So, and then you read your speech, you imagine you got 120, 140 head of states reading 15-minute speeches in 1 week. Who's going to observe it? Nobody listen to it. You do it for your national audience. Of course, you'll be part of the archives, but really you are talking to your national audience, because really when you go out to most of these things, you don't have more than 50, 40, 50 people in the room. Definitely, when you see the real camera, the one they show you usually is your delegation and 1 or 2 people that are sitting there. But really is not, I don't see the necessity of it. I don't see the necessity of spending $50,000 or $100,000 to come to New York. The hotels are extremely expensive. You cannot find a hotel room less than $250 in New York during the UNGA. That's special. They do that just during that week. Hotel rooms are triple, double. So I've always questioned why we go there. You make a speech, nobody listens. But then again, if you are there to meet people, to broker deals on the sideline, that's a possibility. Because, you could say power makers come there. Head of states come, the ministers of finance, usually the ministers of development or whatever. And then you have chance to meet people that you don't have to go to that country to meet them. You say, can I have lunch? Can I have a breakfast with you? I remember Madame Salif went, many times, but I did go with her, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 times, I don't know. And her meetings on this side were more important than, the whole thing, the show, because she didn't go to listen to anyone. She went and made her speech. None of us went anytime. Probably 2, 3 people follow her and then meet her outside, and that was it. But really, I don't know why, because you are talking to your people. The speech you read is for your people. It's not really for the UN. Nobody listens to your speech, really. Nobody cares.
Morris.
So, Dr. Douglas is totally right. I think the UNGA is a gathering of world leaders. And depending on what you want, you can, attend or not attend at all. Some leaders don't go to the UNGA. Some of them usually send their ambassadors. They will send, some kind of proxy on their behalf because, they don't see the need for it. But countries like Liberia, it's an opportunity for you to interact with some of the world leaders that will support some initiatives that you are taking in your country. Some leaders are passionate about particular issues. So, for example, if you have a leader who is very passionate about, inclusion of women in public policy areas, or people that are invested in education, for example, like George Soros, it's an opportunity to interact with these people at the sidelines, because the UNGA is that big gathering where the world leaders come to, but there are several small events that are happening on the side of the UNGA where people meet, and there are conversations about different issues. So the things that you feel that you are connected with, you bring the leaders would sometimes bring their technicians with them to those side events to make a case for their country and say, this is what is happening in my country. We're trying to, educate more women because we feel in 25 years, our women population will increase, and those women have to take up public positions in government to advocate for women inclusion and all that good stuff. There are people who, talk about different things, but just an example of how people can benefit from the UNGA. Unfortunately, some of the comments you just read about leader, seem to be providing these information that are far-fetched. At the same time, they are not taking advantage of some of the events that are happening in the South Shore of the UNGA.
Mr. Gonglo.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you hear me clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. So here is why I think I tend to side to take a position, the view of Dr. Douglas on this one. For me, let's look at the history. It's everything has to do with what people usually say. Um, it's not enough to say to tell a child, don't do this. Do what you don't want the child to do. Let the child see you doing what you don't want the child to do, and then the child will change. So going to the UN, you can go and meet George Soros, you can meet all the other people, but George Soros and the other donors are also interested in being part of success story. So if you are a leader of a country and you doing what is in the interest of your country and the story is going out there, all of these donors will come around because they want to be part of the success story. Let's take the case of the late John McAfee. John McAfee is well documented. He turned down even billions of dollars loan offer from China to build a new railroad and a seaport. He said, no, we got enough money in Tanzania, we'll do it. Why were they doing that? Because they noticed he was doing a great thing and they wanted to be part of that success story. That was a guy who didn't go to the United Nations. That's a guy who did not go to London. He was sitting down saying, look, people will come to us based on what we do, you know. So you can go there. Let's take the case of Madame Sali. Yeah, she went to the United Nations. She attracted a lot of donor fundings in Liberia. But Liberia did not have structure, did not have positions on how these donors would behave and conducting themselves in Liberia. So the country became basically a conduit, a vessel that they brought in the money, passed through, and they brought it back to Western country. That's all they did. So it's not enough to go to the UNGA and just collect and maybe make contact and do this, but also have
We lost you there, Mr. Gonglo. Dr. Dukley, someone listening to you would say, well, why is Dr. Dukley playing this down if he attended it with President Salih several times? Why he didn't advise President Salih, say, well, this year, let's stay out of it?
I was working and I was taking part in preparation of the trip. People go to the UN. I know she was contacting people. I know she had program to attend, and therefore I went. I went with her. And selfishly, of course, my children also lived in the US, so it was an occasion to, but I never went to the hall to listen to a speech ever. It never happened. I've never been in the hall. The only time I went there was to make a presentation on the SDGs. And that's, talking about the SDGs, let me, I read part of the president's speech, President Weah's speech at the UN. And he talks about how Liberia is, using the SDGs along with the proper agenda. I said, but you miss an occasion because this is where you say institutional memory counts. Liberia was part of the 3, presidential panels set up by the UN with 27 international advisors, ministers, and high-level people, Nobel Prizes, to prepare the SDGs framework. And we were part of it. I was representing the president on the committee. And then the African Union selected Liberia as chair of the African Common Position on the SDGs. We led that. And we were the only country, Africa was the only continent that came with a position statement with a detailed framework. And guess what? The SDGs are based on Liberia's project. Because we took our own development project solely to AU and AU solely to the UN. But where he missed that point. If you had memory, if you had institutional memory, somebody would say, yes, emphasize this aspect that we, Liberia, was part of creating the SDGs from the framework to the details. I wanted to add that for my own ego.
And why is that significant?
Well, it's significant because we are part of. I mean, we created that. We are part of creating the SDGs from the ground, up.
I mean, yeah, Dr. Douglas is totally right, Dennis. The fact that Liberia was probably the only African country at the high level of this engagement. As a result, it's
Yeah.
significant when you talk about the achievement of SDGs to talk about the role Liberia play in the establishment of the SDG, in and of itself. I think that Duke is also right. I don't know how what they've done so far with achieving the SDGs under the Propo agenda, but at the end of 2017, some of the work that we did with the SDGs and the end of the agenda for transformation, we're able to marry the two of them and say, okay, the potential outcome of what SDG wants to achieve and what Liberia has done to contribute to that particular process is all within a framework that we can see clearly. I don't know how far the Propo people have gone with this.
Yeah,
Right.
but
Okay.
actually,
For
we
someone
took.
listening to this, SDG
Uh-huh.
is Sustainable Development Goals,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And President, we are talking about them today. Tell me a little bit more, and what have we accomplished in that direction?
So the
What
whole
we have.
idea. Go ahead, Douglas. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I don't think we have a. I think the office. I was running the office in the president, in the office of the president as a special branch, so that was closed because as they asked me, this is funny. When I talked to the president advisors, they say, "Can you help us go to Abidjan and then secure funding for, road projects?" I said, "That's not my work. I'm doing SDGs." They said, "Well, we don't have time for that." But anyway, that office was being closed because I was running it. What we achieved was to get the ministries, the line ministries, every ministry involved in the development, that to coordinate issues from agriculture to finance to say, what are you doing? This is SDG. We have the 17 goals. How does it apply to your ministry? How you want to apply it? And brought people from Kenya, from Tanzania, from what the place name Rwanda. The guy who ended, we used to say Ethiopia was always hungry. You know what? The man who ended that hunger came to Liberia. We brought him. And after he listened to our Minister of Agriculture, he said, "No, you guys doing the whole wrong. You're taking the whole thing wrong. Your policy is completely upside down." That was at the Minister of Finance when we had our conference. So we did have some, we had a lot of consultation. We brought people in. We had seminars, and it was all done by us.
And I want to add to what Dr. Douglas is also saying. So ideally, we had what we call the agenda for transformation before the SDG was launched, and that agenda for transformation was basically a 6 years goal to try to get Liberia to a middle income country. So the goal was ideally to get Liberia to this middle income status. If you look at what the Sustainable Development Goal that was developed by the United Nations was, with all the 17 goals, one of the things were also, no country will achieve all the 17 goals. So they allowed the countries to sort of identify which one of those goals that were, key priorities for you. So among them was, access to education, access to good healthcare, all these different goals. But the way we frame it on our own development context was that if we're trying to get a middle income, the things that will get us to middle income is creating access to education, creating access, to good healthcare, security and justice for everyone. So all of that different frameworks all of that different goal that were under the SDGs were sort of aligned to how we want to get to this middle income status. So the technical role that some of us are playing in the background, while the other are playing the high level policy conversation to raise funds for the things that we wanted to achieve.
So let me bring in Kalebo if you are there. The president said some things today, and he said we are proud of our achievements, including maternal mortality rates, increasing gender parity in school enrollment, and elevating our overall health and well-being. Mr. Gonglo, is the president have a point here?
Dennis, I'm sorry because I'm still on the roll. That's the reason why I got disconnected. But I'm back. But I wanted to end my statement first when I got disconnected on this matter. Just quickly, then I'll pivot to that. The argument I was making was, yes, Madam Sedi went to the UNGA every single year. Yes, she made tremendous contact. Yes, of course, she worked for the United Nations for many years, and she, rose up to a bigger position. So she has connections within the UN. So yeah, she's a UN girl. So she was always at home when she went there. But what you do with all these development aid is also important. It's not just important to just go to this talking shop and talk and get aid. So that's the point I was making. And my clear example is um Tanzania, or you say Paul Kigami. What you do with aid or development uh, 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 or loan, what you do with that is important. It's not just a question of going to conferences. Okay, that's I can talk on this matter. And I think I take the similar argument on this issue or on the question of school enrollment. I mean, I'm happy to be a very experienced teacher who has taught for more than 15 years of my life. Okay, or stop. I mean, even under the Salif administration, they try to increase school enrollment, which is a good thing. Access to education. Under Weah, they try to increase access to education. But if you're going to increase access to education, but you don't also have the resources, the outcome is going to be a mess, a mess. And that's what President Sedi said in her parting comment that the Liberian education system or education has become a mess under the Unity Party regime when she was parting. That was the comment she made. That was her last statement she made. And I think that trend continue on the President Weah administration.
Well, Mr. Gonglo, I think it's going to be a long night, but we
Education,
lost.
school enrollment increased, but then we didn't have the resources, we didn't have the funding. So education became a mess. And I think that trend continue under President Weah. That education is a mess. Okay, both UP and the CDC have their record on education being a mess. It's just the truth.
Thank you. So, the president also talk about election because this is election time, right? So the president is on record. He said the National Elections Commission has been strengthened to ensure that it operates without undue influence. The government of Liberia has taken all necessary measures to ensure a free, fair, transparent, peaceful, inclusive, and credible elections. I think the president is on the mark here. I think the election commission have done pretty well. People doubted census and voter registration and all that. I think the president is on point here. Mr. Kroma, what do you think?
How can the president be on point on this one, Dennis, when you already know some of the things that have happened? Where is the final census report? Do we have? We don't have a final census report that was published, and all of us are making assumptions about the things that are happening with our total population. So far, the Constitution requires the national legislature to divide the country based on the population of people that are in the country within 10 years.
The census guy is not the election commission fault, though.
Yeah, but give me a chance. I'm coming there. I'm laying my premise. You have a census that was done, that was haphazardly done, and somehow because of the pressure from the Liberian people, the president made some decision to suspend and fire some people from the census because the census was done poorly. Now we are stuck in this process because election must happen. You have an election commission who up to now have not presented the final voter roll to the political parties. Neither have they published the listing of people that are supposed to vote. And the Constitution requires that they must do it 30 days before the election. We are less than 20 days now to elections, and we still don't have a final voter roll yet. How is the election commission doing a good job, Dennis? You have an election commission where the commission go to the national legislature, and she's asked if she has funding for the elections for the first and the second round, she says, no, I don't have funding for the second round election unless the Ministry of Finance gave me the balance 3 point whatever X million dollars that is required to complete this money for us to have a second round election. And the Ministry of Finance said they don't have money. How is this election commission doing a good job with all of this information? And she's arrogant about it. She's not even being, like understanding the depth of what could happen if this election is not handled properly. So I can see this and say that they're doing well. There are still some doubt in the minds of the people that are going to vote. The election commission have not created a space for everyone to feel comfortable to say there's a likelihood that this election will be handled properly. You have people on the election commission commissioners that have publicly declared themselves as seditionists, and you say that they're doing well. This is preposterous. We should not be giving them any credit. You're muted, Dennis.
I was looking at the president's statement, right? Say we have strengthened because maybe the lack of capacity or logistic issue or financial issue may not necessarily mean that they are not strengthened to ensure that they operate.
But to use the word strengthened, it means you have fixed those problems. To use the word strength, he said the National Election Commission has been strengthened.
Right, but you know now they said total one wall, but a foot shot. Maybe the government has done its part, but because of financial issues, right?
No, who controls the finances, Joe? Who controls the finances? If the work of the commission is impeded by the lack of funds, that is not their fault, but it's the fault of the government. Therefore, the electoral system is not working. You have to see the election commission as a system, just like you see the presidency. So if they don't get the money to do what they're doing and they fall back on everything, that means the whole electoral process is not working. So don't look at it as just, the election commission is supposed to do it, they're supposed to do it. They didn't do it. Somebody didn't give them the money. Why they didn't get the money when money is being spent to do other things like sending the president to Qatar for 25, 45, 49 days? Why? So those are the issues that you need to ask yourself. It's not about just one person saying,
Exactly. I said exactly, Doc. You're on point.
I had another problem that this chair, I was one of the people who supported her. I remember when somebody asked me, do you trust her? I said, yes, I trust her, because I know Taylor people tried to buy her off when we were at IGNU, and she stayed. She never budged. They tried to get her by all means. I know that. People gave them, So I said, no, I trust this woman. She'll be okay. She's not going to fool around with this. And then she got indicted by the LCC. So that indictment, to me, is the biggest issue. Because if you're indicted and you're supposed to be party, you're supposed to be a referee to a game where you accuse her. I mean, the guy who holds the machete over your head is part of that game. You have a problem. I don't pity the girl. I pity her. I don't want to be in her position. That's a very bad position to be in, because she's been indicted. She could go to jail tomorrow. But they let her run in national elections.
Can I comment on this quickly?
Right, if they find the compliment, right?
Dr. Douglas, I think we need to put in context this whole thing about indictment hanging over the chairman here. Read the PBCC law. There's no way in the PBCC law that wrong procurement can take somebody to court. There's nothing there. PBCC does not have that authority. The Ministry of Justice may.
It was LACC, not PPCC.
Okay, so let's put it in context. The law says there are procedure to follow to do procurement. The question is, what should procure? Those things are they being used by the Elections Commission?
Can I be serious about this?
No. He asked me the question. I'll answer. I can answer you.
Are you saying that?
That's very simple.
Wow.
Bungalow is very simple.
I'm serious. Just as you are serious about butt naked.
No, LCC said
Hold
the woman
on,
gave.
hold on, Dr. Duke. Let Calabo finish because Calabo, they were talking about insider trading. And they said, well, there is no law about insider trading, so don't bring it here. So it was not whether those things that she procured are used or not. That was not the point.
But there is no law.
Exactly.
There is no law in the PBCC that say, I mean, your family person even has a business cannot do, once it's registered under the laws of the Republic of Liberia, cannot do business with an entity. There's nothing like that in the law, in the PBCC law. There's nothing like that.
Dennis,
there can be appearance of convergence, connivance, insider trading. That's subjective. You can have that argument. Yes, that can.
Unless the pinnacle has insider trading. But let Dr. Douglas respond.
Okay.
This is
So
so
we can
hard.
go to our second issue. This is just the first.
This is so hard to. I can't believe it. LNCC is a functioning body of the government, and he indicted somebody for wrongdoing. And you are trying to tell me that PPCC does not have the right to do those things? I don't understand it, my friend. And you're part of the opposition. You don't see the problem with the fact that LACC that was headed by lawyers under the government of Liberia indicted somebody, and then they say, oh, we're going to throw the case out because you were not supposed to be the one to report the case. And then you come here and say, oh, there's nothing in the PPCC that say, oh, you can do business. You family member got business, your brother got business. No, what I'm saying, no, I listen to you. No,
what is in the PPCC?
No, let me finish. How do you rent something to cost more than something that you could have bought it for? There's somebody say you can buy this cup of coffee for $2, and you say no, I'm going to rent it for $10. No, I'm asking questions.
Yeah, that would do.
Let me answer you. Because I had experience on this. In 2016, when I returned to Liberia, I did a research at Ministry of Commerce. I went to PPCC and I asked my friend Double Jala. I said, you know what? Let me access because the public document. I just want to access some of the big ministries, the Boakai, the public works, finance, or agriculture. Let me access their procurement document on purchasing vehicle. You know what I saw? I went to Commerce Ministry. And I got the information on what Commerce has as purchasing costs for these vehicles. Because under the whatever import declaration, they put this information there, right? You see one ministry, Prado Toyota, the same model, same year. Agriculture Ministry will buy maybe $40,000. Just example, I'm not being exact here. Finance Ministry will buy the same car from the same company, $50,000. You know what's the difference? Corruption. Okay.
So Kelabo.
The same buyer.
Kelabo. What does it do with the chairman being indicted?
Because there is no problem.
No. I'm trying. Okay, I'll help you with this. No, let me help you so we can move on. I'll help you with this. You know what? I'm happy that she's in that situation, because what now? She will have to prove to the Liberian people that she's not corrupt. So it's working.
I think she has proven that opposite.
No.
Dr. Duke.
Yeah.
What was she indicted for?
She was indicted for giving a contract to her brother, and then to I don't know, something about thermometer, photograph, something they needed to do.
Right.
And then instead of buying them for cheaper price, she went and rented them for a higher price. The excuse was, well, we may need them in the future.
Dennis,
which law did she violate?
So it's against the code of conduct. That's the first thing. The code of conduct will not allow you to do transactions
to your brother in the house, in-house.
Hold on now, Duke.
No PPCC involvement. PPCC was not involved in it.
Honestly, do we really need a law for this one? Yeah,
but excuse me. If you are indicted, but she was indicted not for violating the code of conduct. She was indicted for insider trading, which is not. And that was not written anywhere. So that's how she was left out. So what they needed to do was to do it again, but they didn't do it, right?
So the point I'm making here, Dennis,
I'm
is that
saying,
if we are really honest about fixing the country, the example my brother Caleb was just talking about with Cass Hill is a good example of how to fix the problem, right? But you can't take that example to say this is what is wrong with the system and then use it as a justification why this woman should be cut loose because there are loose ends within the system. It's like Donald Trump beating all of the laws that are in the country here, finding loopholes within the system and exploiting it. And
That's what lawyers do. So if the LSCC indicted her under the wrong, whatever that law.
no, it was not the wrong. It was the wrong reporting. They said LSCC was not the one that's supposed to take her to court or something.
They said the ombudsman is supposed to
I
do
got
it.
the code of conduct
Yeah.
before me. I'm looking.
No, you don't have to read the code of conduct, Caleb. We don't have to read the
We
code
don't
of
need
conduct.
code of
The
conduct.
argument that we're making here, Caleb, that when
That you are chairman of the election commission and you give contract to your brother
Let's move on.
PPCC.
I know we're discussing the UNGA.
Morris, when you tell somebody to quote, you don't tell somebody to quote based on their parents. On your logical argument.
No, I'm not making
Tell the
logical.
person to quote based on the law.
No, but I'm not making logical argument here, Caleb. What I'm saying is,
So the LSCC didn't know what they were doing.
even if the
Probably.
woman walked
Probably
away
they
from the
know.
case, Caleb, even if she walked away from the case, you are.
No, I'm asking a question.
Fight
So
against
LSCC
corruption.
didn't know what they were doing.
Maybe they made a mistake.
Caleb.
But let's move on to our next issue.
Oh man.
Yeah, let's
Yeah, I
move
find it
on.
interesting.
The president said they have strengthened the election commission. So we'll see.
And you're in your coalition of horribles.
The next one is let's go to the UP and Joseph Newman Boakai. I know the campaign has started.
But we didn't absorb all the president's comments that he made. He made some. You talk about maternal mortality. You already think that maternal mortality, you mean our healthcare system is
Yeah,
strengthened
that
now?
was the first. That was the first question.
Our children are dying anymore.
That was the first thing Dennis talked about. When
Yeah, that's the first one I asked. Maybe you forgot.
Okay.
But
All right, let's move on. Let's move on.
And you and Dr. Douglas said we should listen to the UNGA only the side show, right?
Yeah, I mean, you make a speech at the UNGA is for your local consumption. Nobody in New York. I mean, 120 head of state making 15-minute speeches in 1 week. Who got time?
Yeah,
I mean, really. I mean, look at it.
The next one here is since campaign started. Morris, let me start with you. What is the UP message? What are they telling the people? What I'm hearing from a way looking in is something along the lines of Weah has done very poorly, and in fact, in the first place, we should have taken the old man. We left the old man. Some say it's voters or buyer's remorse. What is UP telling the people? What is the message here from the UP and Mr. Boakai?
I mean, it's disingenuous to even talk about what the UP message is, Dennis, when you sit here and say you're looking from a distance. President Weah got elected to this presidency without delivering a single message. You and I, Calebo, Dr. Duke, all of us know that.
So that's the standard now?
Dennis, you asked me a question. You have to give me a chance to address your question.
Yeah,
I'm not even made my premise here. You already now start stopping me from talking.
Okay, go ahead.
You have to give me a chance to address the question that you ask.
Sure, go ahead.
So I'm giving you. Oh, look at. Caleb, moderator now. I get 2 minutes. Okay, so you have a president that was elected 6 years ago who never said anything. He said, if education, he said.
No, but that's not true, though. He said a lot of things, but go ahead.
Okay. He said, if education can fix a country, but now the country is developed.
Yeah.
That was a clear statement of diminishing educated people and say, forget about education. Give me the country and I'll fix it. I don't have to be educated. Right? And we elected the man who gave him the country for 6 years. Now we're seeing 6 years later that the country has regressed. And he took the country away from a unity party government that was in charge for 12 years. And now the people have the experience of the 12 years under unity party and it's 6 years under George Weah. So what is wrong with Ambassador Boakai saying to the people, this man has failed you for the 6 years that he's been in charge of the country. Give the country back to us and let's take it back to where you experienced what you experienced 12 years ago and maybe move it forward even better than what you saw 6 years 6 years before this president, was in charge. What is wrong with that? What is wrong with saying that? But beyond that, Ambassador Boakai have actually explained his platform to people. He has talked about arrest so many different ways. And he has promised the people that if he's elected, all these people that are passing around BB and BB house, they will get prosecuted under the law. He has made that commitment. What is wrong with saying that? Let Weah tell us what he has done in 6 years. Call the CDC point and then tell us what Weah on this campaign have said in one of his gathering, what he has done in 6 years. Let him tell us one. He hasn't done that, Dennis. And this man was given the country 6 years ago. He didn't do anything. You know that.
Dr. Douglas, what are you hearing from the UP about your message?
Just what you and Mr. Kroma said. I think it's about arrests. Mr. Joe Boakai now has a momentum, definitely. But no vote has yet been cast. And the chatter that I'm worried about a little bit is people putting themselves in a winner seat without, before the race has started. And that's the most damaging thing that could happen to a campaign.
Is that what
all
the
the discussion now. All the discussion. The discussions that I hear on air is usually about we protect our votes, we're not going to allow anybody to cheat us, and we're going to do this. And Maurice just said we're going to prosecute some people. So I think people putting themselves in a position of winner, and I'm not sure if that's a good way to start, to get into a campaign. I hear the messages, they're talking about arrest, they're talking about, Boakai plan to do this, eradicate corruption, and all of these things. But we still have not cast one single ballot. And I think the narrative needs to change from fear mongering to let's run campaign. Let's get our people on the streets to campaign, to talk to each other. And then, stop this fear mongering and say, they're going to cheat and then we're going to kick us, we're going to do this. No, it's a democracy. Let's get used to it. Let's just run a campaign, a peaceful campaign, and let the election commission do its work. I mean, I'm sure that's what I said. I said, because she's been indicted by LCC, she's threatened by Weah, so therefore she will be the best person to run this thing because she will be fair. She will have to show to the Liberian people that she is fair. And she, as they say, she come from a good place. That's my opinion on this thing.
In America, they say they start to measure the drip. Are you saying the UP measuring the drip?
Oh,
well, I think so. No, I think so. I think so because I listened to some shows where somebody would say to other candidates, surrogates, you guys should stop your campaign, join us, get on the train. I said, no, the people are running a campaign. They're not here. If they want to run it, if they want to join you, they will have done that from the beginning. It's kind of demeaning. It's kind of insulting to tell somebody who's running a campaign and say, join me.
Morris won't come to, but Morris, wait, let's go to Gonglo first.
So I heard that. I heard it from Unity Party people. They, definitely, I'm not, it's this mentality, this position of we have this, nobody can take it from us. And if you try to take it, we'll beat you to the ground. It's a wrong narrative.
And everybody will come to that beaten to the ground. Let me go to Mr. Gonglo. Mr. Gonglo, what's the UP message here?
The UP message is very clear and unambiguous. UP message is we'll fight corruption, but they choose Jeremiah Kun, who is Corruption King Kong. He's Thomas Fala's nephew or cousin in corruption at the legislature. There are videos on legislative staffer shouting and demonstrating against Jeremiah Kun. There are audio with Prince Johnson calling Corruption King Kong. There are audios with Prince Johnson linking and he and Thomas Fala in corruption scheme. There are audios with Jeremiah Kun talking with legislative, all of legislators in the division, the dividing money, the sharing money among themselves. They have all those audio. That's the person Boakai went to. That message is very clear and ambiguous. Boakai is saying, He said in February, no, in December 2022, on Front Page Africa, that I will choose a running mate that reflect my values. Jeremiah Kun reflect Boakai values. That message is very clear, subtle, and unambiguous. Boakai said he will fight crime. But who are Boakai appointed as religious advisor? General Bodneke, the guy who specialized in murdering innocent people, whose hands are stained with blood. Innocent people blood. That's the person Boakai choose. That message is clear and unambiguous. Who is Boakai internal advisor? Prince Johnson. Bloody hand. That message is clear and unambiguous. That's Boakai message. Boakai is saying, I will bring war chronicle. But who do he choose to guide him? Prince Johnson and Bodneke. Okay? Indictees in the TRC. People who are culpable, who in the clear jurisdiction of law, many families will come suing them in the real court that the people Boakai go to. What kind of message is that? On top of it, the arrogance of the Unity Party. Dr. Dujas, I'm happy that it's coming from someone who supports Boakai. That the
How you know?
he didn't use the word arrogance, but the arrogance of the Unity Party. And I tested Morris just recently. I said, Morris, we can take a bet. And I can take a public bet on the Boakai will not be president of Liberia. In August,
Mr. Gonglo, you are interpreting, right? But
no, I'm not interpreting.
Hold on one second.
Calebo is a soothsayer now. Can make it see the future now. It's good.
Mr. Gonglo,
Morris,
Mr. Gonglo, I want you to say, you were saying based on the action he's taking, this is what it means. I'm asking you, has the Unity Party gets on the campaign trail, what are they saying?
Oh, you
what
know
are
what
they saying? People should vote for them.
They're saying, oh, we have won. All us are just players. They are kindness go people. In fact, because Spoon Network is Unity Party, is an extension of Unity Party propaganda. Mo Ali sat on Spoon Network and said, oh, Councillor Gonglo or Karen Moliba, they are just kindness play people. They are just participants. Okay? Just like what Dr. Du said. Because while that talk comes out, they say they are won. The others should just follow suit. That sheer arrogance. You know, the last time I checked in political history, arrogance always ends in disaster. The airs of disaster end all of the time. At least I'm old enough to know that this type of sheer arrogance I always not play good. Because you know what? Human by nature, we tend to always go for the underdog. People who appear to be maybe overlooked by society or overlooked by others. When you are in a crowded area, the person who is beaten to the ground, that's the person you go to rescue, right? Not the person who is beating the person. So this party that feel that they won, they step on all the other people. They don't need rescue.
Thank you.
What time will tell? That's
Thank
what
you. I know Morris want to.
as just
Yeah.
as a lot.
I have a question for you, but
I find it very interesting, hearing my brother Calebo here trying to predict the future, even though the future is not there yet. But it's okay. It's okay for you to, to predict what's going to happen between now and next year.
Our trade is prediction.
Calebo, the same stats that you're looking at is the same stats that we are looking at. So we can sit down and have a conversation about it. That's totally fine. When you say this person will never be this, it's coming across almost the same way of the same accusation you're having with the Unity Party people to say, Jack, let me change. You're speaking. I didn't disrupt you, Chief. I can see you're really trying to respond to me. Jack, let me change, Chief. So the same thing you're saying about Unity Party, you are here displaying the same thing and say, Boakai will never be. When you do that, you the same thing you're accusing the Unity Party people, the same thing you're exhibiting. But on the issue of the Prince Johnson allegation and the Jeremiah Kun and Bodneke that you're talking about, Calebo, unless Councillor Gonglo don't want to be president of Liberia, if you want to be president of Liberia, you have to be president for the 5+ million people that are in the country.
You have to kiss the frog and dance with the devil. That's what you mean?
That includes Prince Johnson. It includes Bodneke. It includes Jeremiah Kun. It includes Joseph Boakai. It includes George Weah. It includes Findabono. It includes Carrasco. It includes all these people if you want to be president of Liberia.
Includes Morris Kroma. Why you
It includes me. Fair enough. But the point I'm making here is that one who has a desire to lead has to be temperamental enough, but also acknowledge everybody that are within the space. What I see you doing right now, Kelebo, is having a Liberia that don't include those that you disagree with. And that is a troubling sign for anyone who has a desire to be president, especially if you have a critical voice of a particular candidate that you support. You are a big voice when it comes to Councillor Gonglo's political presidential ambition. So when you have that desire, and you say these people, when you put these people in a box, you are already drawing a line of division between people, which is critical for any kind of conflict analysis. If we look at it, if we do a complete dimension of an analysis of a post-conflict society, you are taking us back to that thing that caused us to go to war in the first place. So,
Mr. Kroma, I don't think he's saying that you shouldn't even speak to these people. Say you shouldn't, like what Sarah Palin said, Obama was palling around with terrorists, right? So there's a difference between being the president of everybody. There's a difference between that and having people with the kind of character that Calabo described as your advisors, as your key, as your allies and supporters.
Boakai has appointed as religious advisor. That is clear on record.
Where is the religious advisor, Joseph Boakai religious advisor, Bodneke claim coming from? Where is it coming from?
Oh, it's public. The man made a
okay, say it public, show it to us now. You have an opportunity to show it to us now. Show it to us so we can see it. I mean, Calabo, this is the problem. This is the problem. Listen, Calabo, when we have an opportunity to have this kind of conversation,
don't pretend publicly.
Don't get into the propaganda. When you get into the propaganda conversation, because I can do the same thing. I can sit down and make up stories about Councillor Gonglo here. I can sit down and tell you, say, Councillor Gonglo, all the advocacy that he has done, the Mandingo people have not benefited. If I sit down and I can make stuff up right now that can fit right within the profile of Councillor, and you spend the rest of the show here trying to justify.
You know what?
But I don't want to do that because I feel Kelebo, the reason I don't want to do that is because I feel at some point we have to elevate our conversation about what is important for the country at this particular moment. Let's have a conversation about Joseph Boakai. Let's do. But let it be about the most important thing. You talk about Prince Johnson and talk about how can Bodneke be his religious advisor? You make that propaganda.
That's the appointment.
Show it to us now. Show it, Chief. Show it. I challenge you to show it now, Dennis. I'm challenging my brother Kelebo here to show me the letter of appointment for General Bodneke to be religious advisor.
Can I come in, please? Can I come in?
Please come in, Dr. Douglas.
Yeah, I think these issues, Liberia is a very difficult country. Everybody in Liberia has somehow worked with Samuel Doe, Charles Taylor, Ellen, and Weah somehow. And we all went through this killing thing. We all know people who were cut into pieces. We all know people who died, And whenever election comes up, we always come up with these issues, who should go, to jail, who should be this and who should be. But we don't really take action in between elections. We don't take action. We just sit quietly. We live with everybody. We are peaceful. We agree with Prince Johnson. We agree with, Mr. Bodneke. And then the election comes up, all these things come up as if, okay, are we on the way to redemption? Are we just going to keep castigating people? I'll say, yeah, Jeremiah Ko is from Nimba. Prince Johnson is from Nimba. You Nimba people voted them into office. If you couldn't stop them, no, you put them there. We didn't. You guys from Nimba voted these people. Either you are part of that voting group or not, because you couldn't defeat them. Therefore, they're in office. So they think it's on you guys in Nimba.
Yep. Democratic peace theory. let's talk about that, Chief.
All right.
Dennis, can I respond to that? You see, Dr. Do.
Yeah.
You and Kurma
let's imagine for
that
a
is
moment.
true. I would take responsibility. Even though I did not vote, but I would take responsibility for that.
Dr. Do, let's imagine for a moment that Morris Kromai and I, who are from NIMBA, we're not on the show. We are discussing national interest, national issue. We're not discussing Lofa or Maryland issue. Let's close our eye for a moment. What is good for Liberia? In a democratic process, there can be, like P.L. Lumumba said, in Africa, people can go and say, oh, this man is thief, but our own not thief. So the only thing that can hold everybody accountable, that's the national leadership. It's not the local issues, because the person could be a local thief, but is it good for the national? No. So whenever leadership comes in, okay?
No.
No, Morris, let me end.
Sorry.
The point you're making here, and the way I want to look at it, because something happened. Salih said, I will do this. Nobody who got human rights record or work in my government. I think the first victim was the late Paul Molba. I was in Monrovia. I well know that. I think Paul Molba needs sleep somehow, and she reacted and said this, right? And but there were people around who tried to do that and slip on her hand, and she announced Paul Molba. And later retracted. I think more Paul Molba got some, on the campaign or transitional committee or something like that. Okay, so but what happened then in 2011? The whole thing she went to BYJ because why? When the TRC report, it's a whole debate, even much more detail because I know a little bit of the debate. She was really determined to be, from what I know, she was determined to be a one-term president and move about the globe. But when the TRC report came out, she was not sure how she'd be treated if she left office. So she changed her mind, said, I'm going to be here and maintain power. And that's all she did. Because to maintain power, she has to do what she did. I didn't vote for Weah in 2017, so I didn't expect anything better than what she's doing, what he's doing. It was Morris Kromai, then party, that gave it is the action and the failures of Unity Party that made Weah relevant.
All right, Caleb.
Actions of
Caleb, can I say something before we move on, please? I just want to say something quick. I think what Dr. Douglas
other people accountable and say, because these leaders because these are professional politicians who just say things around election time. And after election, they don't believe, like Joe Boakai does not believe in war crime code. Joe Boakai does not believe in fighting corruption.
Okay,
John Molu to endorse him. Okay, I'll end on this. John Molu demanded that Joe Boakai he wrote a statement and gave it to Joe Boakai and said, you must read it as a precondition for me endorsing you. And he left out even some of the things he wrote. In 2017, the Joe Boakai
information. Only he can get access to that information. But Caleb, let me just say something before we move on. What Dr. Douglas was saying about NIMBA people elected, I don't think it was directly implying to us because that same logic that Dr. Douglas just presented is presented in the same case of Josh Weah. Weah is the president. Weah is president for all of us, whether we voted for him or not. He's our president. The majority of the people elected President Josh Weah as the president of Liberia. So the same way the majority of the people elected Senator Johnson and Senator Kuhn in Nimba County to be the leader and gave them the platform. Nimba County is one of the largest counties in Liberia. The fact that we elected those two people to represent us that come from Nimba County, it gives him that same platform to talk about the national issue, just like Josh Weah was elected by the majority. So it's not about implying us, to us specifically. The idea is that nationally, the conversation is around national leaders, and you can't take national leader in Liberia. You can't take national leader in Liberia without counting Senator Johnson, who has been elected twice in Nimba County, and take Senator Kuhn, who started as a representative, now is the senator of a county that is as large as.
Thank you. Thank you. I want us to move to the campaign launch that we saw on Sunday under the rain. a lot of people that I listen to say, wow, crowd politics kicks in, right? Say, well, with this kind of crowd, and some of them started to even measure the drip again. So let's look at the campaign launch and what does it say about the Boakai campaign or the Unity Party campaign and the possibility of winning based on what we saw. Is that anything to look at? I also read from a brother of mine who supports Tiawan Gongolo, and this is what he said. He said, beware of huge crowds. They follow Taylor, Hitler, Weah, even Barnabas, not Jesus. So I know, let me start with Mr. Gonglo. I mean, this was a big showing for the Unity Party. If we look at, the crowd that followed Taylor, the crowd that followed Weah, and all that, this really showed there's a lot of momentum on the Joseph Newman Boakai side. Many said, I mean, what if it were not even raining, we could have seen more. What do you make of the crowd, and what does that say about the viability of the Boakai campaign?
Yeah, what I would say, Dennis, been a history of Liberian politics, I would say this. In 2017, Morris is in the studio here. I don't know if Du was in Monrovia in 2017. In 2017, the last rally of Unity Party, in fact, I want to believe around maybe 1 p.m. or so, they were making an announcement that nobody should go to the ATS. They will have loudspeakers to announce it. People should stay. In fact, police stopped vehicles from moving. People were stopping cars or anybody going to ATS to capture bypass, then to Lynn and Broad Street. They were stopping people. Nobody should go there because the crowd became uncontrollable, and there was no rain. In fact, Boakai drove into the stadium. I was watching it on Facebook. He drove to ATS. When he saw the crowd, he broke down emotionally. He made no statement. He said, go home and vote. I have nothing. I don't want anybody to get hurt. Go home. He made no speech because that crowd was overwhelming. What was the end result? He won on the loafer. That's one thing we should learn from.
So he went to the second round. So
crowd has not always necessarily predicted the outcome of election in Liberia. Because if crowd was to be the one, I would say Boakai would have won in 2017. Morris can comment if he dispute that. The other thing I would say is there was a Joseph Boakai that was an incumbent in 2017. They had control of the Elections Commission. Joseph Boakai had control of the Elections Commission, just as a crime from President Weah today. They had control of the Elections Commission. That's why they have fear now. That's why fear has gripped the Unity Party. Because they knew how much pressure they put on the Elections Commission in 2017, and the Elections Commission did not budge down to it.
Thank you.
So I will say that, but I want to say one more thing than that.
About the crowd, about the campaign launch.
Yeah, about the campaign launch. Boakai did not make any statement at that campaign launch. For whatever reason, he did not make, just like 2017. So for me, I see that trend. In Liberia, we say you plot the new mat on the old mat. In 2017, the guy made no statement. He went and lost the election. When he saw the huge crowd, he just said, I won. Y'all go home. In 2023, he saw a huge crowd. He said, y'all go home. That's what I see. And for me, I remember y'all go home and be safe.
But
What do you see?
I saw a speech. Okay.
It was circulated later. In 2017, it was circulated later the same way. So he never delivered it.
When I hear Kelebo
let's talk about yourself first. What you make of the campaign launch?
I mean, it was a huge success. It was a massive success. I think there was a clear message that was sent out on that campaign launch day. It was a huge rally. amidst the heavy downpour of rain, people challenged the rain and they came out, and they came out in their droves. Nobody intimidated anybody. Nobody forced them to come out. The people came out in solidarity with the Unity Party and its alliances to send a message to George Weah that they were tired of the experiences of the 6 years. And as a result, they were prepared to do whatever it takes to get him out of power. That message was sent clear on that day. But for Kelebo to say that after the rally in 2017, and Ambassador Boakai won only Lofa County, it's a skewed data that he's providing. The truth of the matter here is that in 2017, President Weah won 596,000 votes, and the Unity Party won 446,000 votes. The difference between the two parties was about 150,000 votes. It wasn't much. It's a small number. But when you give someone like Kelebo the chance to be a propagandist, they're able to give you that same data in a way to make it look as though nothing happened all across the entire country. There only one small little region this man won. And Labrador election is counted is based on head count. It's not based on counting. But the CDC people and Kelebo have made people to believe that Labrador elections is uncounted. You don't do counties, we do head counts. So the election was a contentious election. It was very contentious, right? This 2023 elections, the people have rallied again to say, even this one, we are prepared to go whatever it takes to get this government out of power, because 6 years of them have been enough to show that they've mismanaged, and they've shown complete irresponsible governance at every single level. Every single ministry is overcrowded now. You don't see anything coming. The president don't deliver. The president don't speak to anybody in the country. He calls speech from people. He goes to New York. He chill. He goes to see Walker for 48 days. If people are sensitive to stuff like that, there's no access to healthcare in the country. He goes to the UN and lies to the people and say, our healthcare system has improved. We got maternal mortality under control now. Children are not dying anymore. Those are blatant lies. He's telling the people, but he doesn't know that he's lying, because somebody write the speech and give it to him and say, go and read this thing at the UN. And he goes there and stand there and say in boldface that the country is improving under him and there's transparency in the election process.
Morris, all president, Dr. do them the speech right to all president. People write the speech for them. They don't write it themselves. But Morris, you didn't talk about.
I'll let Dr. address that. That one.
Morris,
Morris, hold
on, Calabo.
But let me ask you the question.
No, but let me ask you the question first.
Because you left out in 2017, is it not the fact that Unity Party appointed all the election commissioners? Is it not fact?
So elections commissioners are not appointed for them to favor you.
So why then you have fear on this one too?
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about. Morris, is there any reason why this was on Sunday? I know Liberians, especially our pastors, they always frown on gathering on Sunday. In fact, when we're playing game, they say, oh no, you're close all the market. Is there any reason why this was done on Sunday?
I mean, it was actually a good thing to have the rally on Sunday, because you want to be sensitive to the people. What CDC has done often is to have these big rallies on work days and shut the economy down. This is the first time I've seen things like that happen under any kind of responsible government, where on the day where the economy is supposed to be booming, you put partisans in the street and stop everything, stop cars from moving, stop trade, you stop businesses. Here is it: a responsible opposition party say, we're not going to do that. We're going to be sensitive to the people. Let people go do the hustle Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sunday, they can go to church in the morning. Go to your church when you finish your service. If you still don't want to go to your church, you can come to the ATS. We'll have a religious ceremony in the morning and recognize people for the religious identity that we have as a country before we even start the rally. All of that happened on ATS that day. There was a church choir in the morning at ATS that was singing in the morning at the ATS. So to be sensitive to the people, to say, go do your hustle, you finish, come back here on Sunday when nothing else you got to do, come and then we enjoy ourselves.
How is that a separation of church and state?
Oh, you asked the question, you put the religious context to it. I gave you a response in religious context. Then you
I was setting you up.
Huh?
I was setting you up.
Okay. Okay, Chief.
Dr. Dukle, what do you make of the campaign launch?
Well, I think they crowd politics always work. Um, you come out, you see the big crowd, you're satisfied because that people want to hear you, they want to see you, or they're just curious and so what he's talking about or she's talking about. And but then again, I'm always reminded by Donald Trump saying, whenever I had my programs, I held them in stadiums, and I filled every stadium. And he had meetings in the basement. How can he win elections? In 1940s or 50s, I'm not sure. There was an election in the U.S. where New York Times, the Chicago, Tribune, and every newspaper at 2 o'clock in the morning had to change the headlines because nobody could believe that the guy who was, that Dewey or whatever his name was, could be beaten at a poll. So they all had a headline. So at 2 o'clock in the morning, the numbers came down. They had to go back and change the numbers and change the story. So my thing is, it was a big crowd, and you cannot dispute that. And you cannot dispute another fact that Boakai is like Trump in the Republican Party. No matter what you tell against him, you get 10. I remember I checked, 2 posts from two different parties against Boakai. 90% of the responses to those posts were against them and supporting Boakai. In both cases, I still have the posts, I saved them. I said, you see, why are you wasting your time? This is like Trump in the Republican Party, nothing going to stick on Boakai.
No, I'll make it Obama, not Trump, because actually Trump is a bad example. Trump is
Trump in the Republican Party. That's what I'm saying. Nobody can beat him in the Republican Party now. I don't care what you say about him, that he's a rogue, he's a thief.
That is true.
His numbers keep going up, he keeps raising money. And Boakai is that way now. Either you like it or not. That's Liberian. I don't know if it's.
What do you make of that? Is that bad for the Liberian politics or good? Good thing.
Well, I always say they don't make mistakes. Liberian electors don't make mistakes.
No, they don't.
1997, they knew if they don't give Taylor the presidency, there will be no peace. They gave it to him. And he bundled it and he got kicked out.
Yep.
2005, they look at Ellen and Joshua. Yeah, we like you, Georgie, but and then they say we need international support. So they went with her twice.
Yep.
In 2017, they look at Unity Party divided. The old man are campaigning for her own vice president. They say, oh, how can we trust him? So that broke down the thing, and then there was a fatigue after 12 years of Unity Party. People say, maybe time to try these people, and then that happened.
Yep.
So they didn't make them. I don't think in our lifetime, except 1985, when people went and you want to hear the story about how they changed the constitution. I mean, they voted those years.
Right,
2 days after the start. No, 2 days after the start. Yeah, sure. It's 1 second. 3 days after they start counting the votes with Emmett Hammond. Those are the numbers. He called his advisor. He's a tripod. They call him the tripod, the 3 advisors. 2 of them died, 1 is still alive. He called them and said, guys, we need to start packing up because the numbers are not coming right. They said, Mr. President, don't worry about it. We can fix it. And the next day, Joe fired the whole commission people, brought his own people to recount the ballots, and won elections. So, what was I again?
All right.
But
we got it. We got you.
Yeah, you got it. But Boakai has the crowd. He has that momentum, and no matter what you say about him now, he ain't gonna stick. You can call him, lover of more, warlords. You can call him friends of corrupt people. You can call him anything you want. Liberian people say, they have this thing. We agree. Anything you say, we agree.
I just want to add one small thing to what Douglas just said, right? And the truth of the matter is that the people, and Caleb and I have had this conversation in private before. There is a common goal here. It's not just a Boakai as an individual. The common goal is to unseat Weah and his bunch of thieves that are in charge of the country. And so people say, well, I see that, there is some sort of organization around the Boakai camp. Let's all of us coalesce around this and make it selfless. You don't have to be about me. I don't care whether you give me, government position or not. I don't care. I think I'm okay here. But let's join forces and let's unseat this man and let's get the country back into some sensible hands. And then whatever happens after that, we'll try to fix that one. But right now, we have to stop the bleed. The country is in reverse, 60 miles per hour. We have to stop it.
I think the country was in reverse by the time you guys are leaving.
You see that again?
The country was in reverse.
Let's go to the next level.
You are assistant minister. Never serving Ellen Johnson as minister. You are assistant minister of Labor Ministry.
I served there one term, and
you helped to put the country in reverse, Calabo?
No. Listen.
You were assistant minister. I wasn't assistant minister. How can you say country in reverse when you guys are leaving? You are in the government.
I think time is fast spent. I want us to
talking our talk. But
hold on, Calabo. I don't want us to go back and be legislating this or litigating this Ellen government.
I was there for one term. The first term of President Sadi was laying the foundation. And
Mr. Gonglo.
I was one of the technicians.
Mr. Gonglo.
RPRSP.
Mr. Gonglo.
Strategy.
Mr. Gonglo, let's leave the Ellen. Let's leave this. Getting this thing about Ellen, right? We are here now.
Willingly left the country. The second term.
Hold on. All right, let's go to our last point, which is the threats of war. I don't want us to go into who part of the Ellen government and what it did. We are here now. It's been 12 years, 18 years has passed.
I was there for one term. You're making that I was there for 12 years.
No, but you are making it look like that Ellen government is Krumah government. You say you were there too.
Exactly.
So all three of you worked in the Ellen government.
5 years.
All of us on this.
And I was not assistant minister. I want to even.
But you were there to the end.
She don't know me.
You served in CDC government. I didn't serve
for 8 months.
Yeah, but you were there for 8 months.
I was saying public.
I was never in the
government. Mr. Gonglo, what are you trying to imply?
Exactly.
No,
I was never in the government.
Yeah. Because all of you here, I'm the only one who has not worked for the Liberal government. All of you here work for government.
In fact, anyway, what all I want to
our last point we want to look at here is this threat of war. As we go into elections, I've heard before that, hey, anybody who say one round, meaning it's going to cause war. I've heard that. I've also heard from Yeke Koluba that if the elections are rigged, we will go in the bushes. In other words, there's going to be war. Of late, we've heard from Prince Weah Johnson, who is who showed up Mr. Boakai relies to win Nimba County. This is what he said, and I'll put this on the screen. Before the October elections, Liberians are coming out under the banner, "Don't try it." Any attempt, the people's power will be exercised like the Arab Spring. You will shoot your guns. You will kill us. You will shoot your gun. You will kill us or you will die. No more fear. Liberians don't have fear anymore. Many are interpreting this as warmongering. And in fact, the Joint Secretary has come up to say, don't try it. Mr. Krumah, is this bluff?
Amoro's political advisor.
Is this a political posturing, or we should be worried? That's the question I have.
You should not be worried. Mr. Cannibal, he's making me laugh. Cannibal, he's my political advisor now.
Of course.
Okay.
He's my political advisor.
Okay, all right. That's okay.
You're appointing us as political advisor.
Hold on, Mr. Gonglo.
Yeah, okay.
Why shouldn't we be worried? This man is a notorious warlord. He killed a lot of people, and now when he talks these things, and he even talk about having 75 strong men, former SATUs, former ATU, and all that. So isn't that scary?
He went detailed than that.
So Dennis, let's take the question from the context in which the post that you just put up. I've seen the media, I've seen a lot of people in the CDC government saying that PYJ has threatened our peace. I mean, if you read the statement, just like you posted it, there's no threat of any war in that particular context.
Really?
No threat of war in it. And we can have the conversation. There's no threat whatsoever of war here. He says you will shoot your gun you will kill us. You will die. Where is the threat of war? He said, no more fear. I mean, what's the threat of war here? But the reason that people are taking this thing and running with it, especially those that are anti-JMB camp, is because they want to create this euphoria and sentiment.
People within United Party are not happy with that. Let's be fair.
Hold on, Mr. Gonglo. You give him chance.
Yeah, Cannibal is on my neck today, my man. Right on my neck at George Floyd right now. How are you looking right now, Cannibal? But the idea is that, they're creating this sentiment because they want, like Dr. Du was saying, they want this momentum that is behind GMB to reduce. And they think that if it reduces, it gives them some kind of leverage. And, some of these people, to be honest with you, Dennis, they would rather George Weah and his terrible governance to stay in charge than to give Joseph Boakai a chance to fix the country or give him a chance to even stabilize the country from what is going through right now. Only because they say, what? That other man over there on the JMB camp, that man myself, we either opposite ethnic group or we are the same ethnic group. I can't see him go and succeed more than me. And those kinds of things are the reason why people would choose a Weah over a JMB right now, just because of some it's either us or nobody at all. Let's just destroy it. But I don't see any threat of war in that particular statement. There's no threat of war in there. And
what if that same statement came from Koji or one of those ex-warlords who now support President Weah? What would be your response?
In fact, there are people within the governance circle that have said worse statement than that. Nothing happened.
What?
Koji. In fact, Carlos Gray have said before that Ellen Johnson, if you want the country to be ungovernable, we will make it ungovernable for you. Dr. Dukley, I'm sure you can remember that statement.
It was not election year.
Kelebo.
But it was not election year.
You asked me to quote someone.
No, we're talking about now, and you are going back 18 years. Come on.
It was not election year, but that's a fact. It's like IPA were oranges. It was not election year.
It doesn't matter. I want you to quote if Jefferson
Dennis, you asked me a question. You said quote them, and I quoted someone that said that was in opposition at the time that said.
No, I'm talking about now. I'm talking about somebody in the Weah government.
What is Akaros Gray?
No, currently is that what Akaros Gray is saying currently?
Akaros Gray can say that currently because he's in the establishment. If he's in the opposition and makes such a statement that is worse than what Senator Johnson said, yes.
I think Morris.
Yes, but I'm making it. No, Kelebo.
Hold on, Kelebo. Because Akaros Gray does not have the same history.
It will be unfair for you guys. It will be unfair for you guys not to give me a chance to address the issue the way you're asking the question. You're cutting me off every time I try to speak. And it'll make me to lose my chain of thought. But I'm saying to you,
this is stop talking.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm ready to have the conversation. I've been here over an hour now. We're having this conversation, right?
Go ahead. Because Akaros Gray has a different history from President Johnson.
I'm saying to you that Representative Akaros Gray, when he was in the opposition, said to the governing body at the time that we will make this country ungovernable to you if you want to make it ungovernable. Besides that, I'll put that one side. Another opposition in the same group said to the justice minister, if you don't respect yourself, when we say we'll go on Broad Street to go together, you must come and send your police people to us and see what we'll do to you. You and your police people is what we'll do to you. The current speaker of the house in the opposition also said that in this country here, as long as we are in this country here, we'll make sure that Ellen Johnson Sirleaf will be impeached. So they've said worse things.
Yeah, but Mr. Kloma, here's the difference.
What's the difference?
All the people you name, they did not shoot people at point blank ranges. They don't have the same history as Prince Johnson.
So you are subjecting, you are trying to say now because Prince Johnson have shot a gun before, that means he doesn't have a right to speak about.
No, he has a history of killing people. So when he speaks, we are terrified.
What is the terror in it? What's the terror in it? Show me the place that get you terrified, Dennis.
I think I was
in the statement. Show me the place that in the statement that make you terrified.
Just can you go for
what Prince Johnson said?
There are some things that are hard to justify. And I don't think, I think if I were Prince Johnson, if I were advising him, because of all the controversies around him, and it's there. We know he was there. He was the one who killed the President Doe. We know he's indicted by the U.S. government. The best thing he could do really is to take a step back from this campaign and be as quiet as possible. He's not helping anyone. He's not helping Boakai by making these kind of threats, and he's not helping Liberians who want to vote. It's a threat because you're talking about killing. It's not the fact that we say war. He doesn't have to use the words war. And once you say killing, you're talking about people being killed, and we have a history of that. So you can't just go around and use words like as if you're some little kid in a street.
No, but Douglas, so you guys are censoring someone now?
No. I'm not censoring. No. I'm not censoring him. I'm not.
No, I mean that's what it means.
I was I'm one who say Prince Johnson. Sometimes we blame him for a lot of things, but when he left the country, we're talking about 39,000 dead. There are 200,000 people died after he left. So he was not part of the 200,000 people who died after him. Octopus, we're talking about, I was in Accra, not Accra, Yamoussoukro, talking, all of that. We're talking about 39,000 dead at a time when Prince Johnson ran away, and 200,000 people died after him. So he's not the biggest killer in our war. Maybe he did the most gruesome things, the things that we remember that shock all of us. And because of those actions, because we have not forgotten, he cannot talk about killing. He can use that word in his discussions. He need to be grown up. He need to go beyond the war, the mentality of killing people, that people getting killed. Nobody's going to kill nobody. You shoot your gun. You don't talk about gun. You don't talk about gun when you're a senator and a former warlord. That kill people. That kill people. I always say Prince Johnson is not a worse warlord, but he killed people. He did something that we all remember forever.
Dr. Douglas, I acknowledge that, and it's okay. I mean, as a country, all of us collectively, we have a memory of the horror days of the past, right? But also, Caleb, give me a chance. This is a good conversation. I'm really
interested. You don't. I just said it. I made a statement. You don't.
I don't have a memory of the past.
No, you don't.
Caleb, I spent 2 years going to school.
You said Prince Johnson used the word kill. You said Prince Johnson used the word kill is no threat.
Yes. There's no threat whatsoever.
No. Prince Johnson using the word gun and kill as a semantician. Anyway, I'm a linguist, 3 linguists.
Yeah, okay. So that's just you are special.
Yeah, socio-linguistic. This is how we characterize people. You talk about guns. You talk about death. You will kill us, or you will die. He said you will die. So that means somebody going to kill that person.
By what means?
If I analyze this thing, you say yeah.
Okay,
I can shoot Prince Johnson for this. No. I can take this paper. I can take this piece and analyze it, and then sue Prince Johnson for whatever you want.
So
it is there. He used the word gun. He used the word kill. He used the word you die.
And this is not the first time Prince Johnson had alluded to that. And,
yeah.
I also talk about.
He should just stay out of the campaign. He should just stay out of the campaign.
What's about Yeke? Yeke also said if you rig the election, we'll go in the bushes. Well, is that a threat?
I won't comment on Yeke, bro.
Why not?
Why not? No. I mean, no. I'm saying that Yeke is used to this kind of fantasmagoric speeches. He does that all the time. I go in the bush.
I want Mr. Kroman to compare the 2 statements and see.
So it's the same thing. It's the same irresponsible.
Supporters.
It's the same irresponsible way of talking.
I remember I was probably in the 10th grade or maybe 11th grade when Dr. H. Bama Famole was asked, if you lose the election, what is going to happen? And he said, I will go to the mountain. I don't know if some of you still remember, but that thing, because I was so fascinated by his eloquence, I used to follow.
That was 97?
Yeah, 97. I used to follow this guy religiously because I was fascinated by his eloquence. And that thing, I used to say in my school every time when I was running for office. Somebody said, I said I will go to the mountain because it became a part of me.
Yeah, because they were all warlords running against each other at the time.
I mean,
Like you said, they were all
I'm
warlords.
listening, Mr.
Morris,
Krumah.
the man you will run away from Liberia. That's what he meant.
okay, so you see, Calebo, you are able to interpret that to me that somebody will go with somebody will run away from Liberia.
When you go up the mountain, what do? You go high.
Calebo.
Is claiming the mountain now a symbolic gesture of howling?
So why is it that when Yeke Koluba said I will go to the bush, you thinking that he's going to bring war?
Because in the
Right. So,
bush,
no, Mr. Krumah, I want you to tell me what you make of that statement.
No. So I'm taking the same idiom that HBE has used,
And
and
because
say,
HB uses it, it's justifiable.
No, it's not the case. But I'm saying
Okay.
that we can't censor people and try to tell a guide what you expect them to say. So whether it's Yeke Koluba, it's PYJ, or it's HB, we should allow them to say what they have to say. And those that feel that if this is a threat to our national security, then let the security sector people go there and say, okay, come and explain yourself further. What do you mean when you say that people will die? And if you shoot your gun, if your gun don't kill, you will die. You should come and explain yourself. If they don't do that, then the security put themselves, to go issue statement. What you issue statement about?
Morris.
Yeah.
Words always trigger things in people's memory. Mental health. You got to be very careful with what you say. When Prince Johnson said guns, you will die, you will kill us, people take it seriously. It triggers something in people's memory. People who you say you were 12, you were in 12th grade when 97, so you don't remember the war. You don't remember.
I have a fresh memory of the war. I have my whole childhood was robbed by the Liberians.
When you're a child going through a war, but what I'm saying, being a child. No. Being a child going through a war, taken care of by your parents, is different from being a parent taking care of children.
Yeah, I wasn't a parent, but I'm
talking about adults. Adults' experience of the war is different from a child.
Those of us who are teenagers, then let us talk.
So I'm just saying, when Prince Johnson talking about gun, he used gun, die, and kill in the same sentence. Those are triggers.
In 2017, I went to Liberia. Entering Caldwell was traumatic for me. Just entering Caldwell, that alone. So if that same man, because I left Bannersville, when those guys came and they were between Caldwell, Dixville, that's at the back of Bannersville. So his words, and he said he has 75 men, former ATU, former SATU. These are the people he's going to mobilize. So this is a threat.
But
Morris, I need to come in.
But before you come in, Calebo, before you come in, let me announce that anyone who wants to participate, we have 30 minutes to shut down this show. Call the number on the screen, 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. Go ahead, Mr.
Let me say, I will just say two things quickly. Morris can sit here and pretend about that. But the leaders of his camp are worried. When Prince Johnson spoke, when I recalling when they ran the last time, that Prince Johnson was talking about how Boakai would die, or Boakai say, do that Jeremiah Kun, this is Nimakan time to take power, blah, blah. It worried Jeremiah Kun. Jeremiah Kun actually called a world journalist in Liberia who happened to be my friend and had conversation with him. He said, actually, I don't know. I can't say anything because he got me into this thing here. If I say anything, he moved from behind me, I will fall. But what he did, I've got a lot of concerns. A lot of our supporters from OC, they are concerned about the statement he made. How, Boakai is this.
We're getting classified information.
This is a classified statement.
No, it's not classified information.
But it's unofficial.
Yeah, it's unofficial. I had a conversation. You didn't tell me you can't talk about it publicly, so I can talk about it. So and he said this to me. He said Kun was worried, and Kun because he's a journalist. Kun is always calling him. So what are you hearing?
Mr. Calabo, how can we verify these things that They're all
Right.
behind closed doors.
Off
So
record, I can give you the
yeah, but these are
off
all
record, I can
behind
give you the
closed doors.
person's telephone number. Even Morris' number, I can get a number to Morris. You can talk to the president, but I can call his name on the air. But
Kelebo,
yeah, it's
man. I know Kelebo. Kelebo always got sensitive information. Always got
that's
classified
the
information.
first comment I wanted to make. The second comment I want to make is Boakai, Joseph Boakai. This man, this octogenarian that
Yeah,
Morris
yeah,
Commandant
yeah.
thinks
Get it,
that he's going
yeah,
to
the special JD.
he's going
Yeah,
to
he says it's okay.
go rescue her. Boakai is a paragon of heaven for murderers and
Ageism,
for thieves.
ageism. That
Okay?
icon.
Yes, he's a heaven for murderers and for thieves. The
Okay.
likes of Ellis Tyler, the likes of Prince Johnson, the likes of Bob Nickey, the likes of James, they all run to it. There should be something. Why is it that this old man who Ellen Johnson Sally found him very ineffective to take over the country after her?
I found it
Why
very
is it
interesting
all
that
the
you are on
thieves,
Ellen's side
all
today.
those bad
You are on
governing
Ellen's side
records?
today.
What?
I find it interesting that you are using Ellen as your source of information.
But-
But is that not the fact? Is that not the fact?
Kelebo, I find it very interesting using
So-
Ellen as your source of information now.
Is that not a fact?
Okay, all right, Chief.
Yeah, so,
I hear you.
but yeah, it's the thing. The question we need to ask is why all the thieves and the murderers are gathering around him and he's promising us transformation. Should we believe that? How possible is it that someone who, look, biologically, Boakai cannot withstand the biological and natural trend? He's aging, his cells are failing. It's just a fact. I'm getting older myself. I wake up in the morning, I used to run track and field, I used to play tennis for 4 hours. I no longer can play tennis for 4 hours.
Mr. Calabo, Mr. Calabo,
That's a biological fact.
will use the
Like
same
the way you used to run, maybe 2
Mr.
hours,
Calabo,
you can run 2 hours.
Kelebo will
It's
use
just
that
a
same
fact.
debate against
Why
Kelebo
is it that these people, these horribles in Liberia are ganking around you?
Mr. Gonglo,
Kelebo, in 2029 will use the same age factor on Councilor Gonglo. Just watch in 2029.
Well, it is not even a winner in this election.
Mr. Gonglo, you're making a lot of leap in this area now. Octogenarian, this person said this.
No,
You are kinda-
the fact is, I talked to one kissy old man the other
Yeah, I
time.
know you always talk, all these
And he
people that
was
are
telling
off
me-
record. Let me bring in my caller, Mr.
Brother used
Gonglo.
to be friends. And his
Mr.
uncle
Gonglo.
died. Yes, right.
Mr. Gonglo, I want you to quote some newspapers reporting because you are talking to these people. Probably don't make them anytime you call them, then they don't want to talk to you anymore because they know that you're going to use it.
don't call that name.
Exactly.
All right, so let me bring in some callers here. We have over 10 callers waiting.
Clebo, you are responsible for bringing Prince Johnson to us. You elected him. I'm taking a break. I'm right here. I'm listening.
Well,
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding with you. Just
maybe Ellen Johnson, dude, as one of the advisors of Ellen Johnson Sally, you are responsible for letting him off the hook.
All right.
Oh, yeah,
Let me
absolutely.
bring in the first caller here.
Please.
Let's bring in the first caller. That's
Well,
Tubman.
you are one of the key advisors of Sally. So
no, I was not. I was never in the government. You saw my
All
name
right,
in the
let me
government.
bring in my first caller.
Release.
Gentlemen,
Okay.
let me bring in my first caller.
Okay, I'm right here. I'm here. I'm listening.
All right. Hello, caller. Your name and where you calling from?
Yeah. Excuse me. Hello, Dennis. This is Tubman.
Go ahead,
Calling
Tubman.
from Pennsylvania.
Go ahead, Tubman.
Yeah, okay. I want to say thanks to your panelists out there, and I want to commend the Dyke for on the issue of Prince Johnson for setting things straight with Mr. Kumar over there, who is defending Mr. Johnson for what he said. So I just want to get that straight and commend Dr. Duke for putting things in perspective. Then as you ask a question on your show, you ask Mr. Kumar over there, what is Joseph Boakai's message? And I've been listening to the show, and you're giving all the time to tell us what is the message of Joseph Boakai. And he didn't say one thing. Joseph Boakai's message. He didn't give us one thing.
He did.
All he said was, look at George Weah, 6 years. The question was, what is the message that Joseph Boakai has taken to the Liberian people. What is he going to do? What is his plan? Where is he going to leave the country? How is he going to accomplish what he said he's going to do? He hasn't said one thing about it. Not a single thing. And I'm sitting here waiting for him to answer that question. The question still stands. What will Mr. Boakai do? What is his plan? How is he going to accomplish the things that he said he's going to do? If he ever have a plan, how he's going to accomplish it? So please
Thank you.
answer the question. Forget about George Weah 6 years. What is Mr. Boakai's message? How is he going to accomplish what he's going to do? Tell us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let me bring on my next caller here, Mr. Derek Paul. Mr. Paul, you're live.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. Thank you for the opportunity again. So I told you a little bit later, I heard Mr. Duke talking about, Mr. Boakai having the numbers and having the momentum and all that stuff, right? So I was constrained to call because, that's one of the reasons why the CPP will be hosting, they are closing, argument, in Monrovia, so because now it has become, a game of perception, the crowd perception. CDC hosted, CDC put up a big crowd, UP did the same thing, they put up a big crowd, but UP is very strategic in trying to create this perception that, oh yes, we got this and we got this and we got that. And the thing about it is that the election this year, it has so many different layers, and I don't know if Mr. Boakai is picking up any new votes, So I think in the UP, they are so arrogant and they come across so aggressive that almost like trying to bamboozle their way to the presidency. You know what I mean? So that's why they come up with all this crazy saying that because they put up some kind of a huge, maybe 35,000 people crowd, oh, this thing is over, this thing is over. And that's why the reason why the city want to respond to make sure let them know that, we also to put a big crowd to it. We'll be doing that on the 6th, right? And not only that, what UP don't understand is that the groundwork for the CPV have been laid a long time ago. And the reason I'm saying this is that they will only come out again to say, oh, they got cheated, all that kind of stuff. They are already laying the groundwork for that. Again, they are creating this huge, perception that everybody, the capital have been laid out for Mr. Boakai, this thing is over and blah, 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 and stuff like that. So again, let them watch out because that's the reason why Mr. Prince Johnson, all those people that are making all the noise because they're almost looking at the last button on Joe Code that this thing here, it has to happen or else a lot of people, political career will be over.
Thank you.
I'm not saying this to say the CPV are very, long and underestimated and will come out this on the 6th to show people that we are saying put on number 1, we put up Buchanan number 2. There's so many groundwork that have been laid for the past 3 years. That people don't know, but you keep running around all this, the possession game, and we're blowing their faces. Thank you very much for that.
And that CPP, is it going to be on Sunday?
No, on the 6th will be on a Friday, I think.
Oh, on a Friday. So the other people did it on the Christian prayer day. You're going to do it on the Muslim prayer day. All right, I got the point. All right, let me
maybe Abusa Belete convince them all I want.
let me take our next caller. That's Evans Morris because people are getting concerned now.
I was really shocked. I thought Evans Morris was the first.
Yeah, in fact, this guy said, please check on Evans Morris because he's not on the call log today. Evans, you are live. Go ahead. People are getting concerned.
Just to be sure, I was second. So I came on the line. I heard the report announce it, so that means I was just voting. So you can just for my call.
No. When I saw the calls, that's how they are doing.
Okay, it's cool. Well, let me say this. In the background.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Let me say this. I must commend you. I haven't commended you in a long time, Mr. Jabba. I think you did a good job, or let's say a great job today with the show. You pushed back, and the debate was interesting. I also want to commend Dr. Duke. Dr. Duke, for the most part, I think we are on this platform who don't know him personally. We kind of think that he's leaning towards Joseph Boakai, but I think he's been a little balanced today, and I love people who are balanced. But the kick goes to Mr. Gongo. He's always balanced. He always hit from both sides. We'll always appreciate him for that. But let me say this. With the issue of Prince Johnson, we don't have to worry about Prince Johnson. Prince Johnson, I don't know if you not see Prince Johnson got when you try to close his close to a better close. So you don't have the agility nor the stamina to fight a war like he did in the 80s and the 90s, in the late 80s and in the 90s.
There's a bulletproof jacket under that coat. That's why it's not closing.
I was going to tell that bulletproof jacket on Morris.
Basketball, maybe, but when it comes to
that's what I heard. I don't know. I've not met him personally.
Okay.
It's true. It's true.
I think the whole thing is the opposition have to tone down the rhetoric because they are trying to push this government back to the wall and make the government react. The reality is that since George Weah took over power, there has never been a substantiated case of vote rigging or election rigging. Never. For 6 years he's been in power. All of the runoff elections and the by-elections, there's never been one.
Because he has never faced re-election. This is the first re-election.
Not on the ballot, but his interest was there. Monserrato was there. The optics of losing Monserrato was huge for him. And if you wanted to rig any of those elections, the one Monserrato would have been one. So I think the opposition have to lay low, or else that's where the violence is going to come from. Because the expectation they're raising for people who support United Party is so high, they're skyrocketing it to the point that if they lose, the anger would be unfathomable, unfathomable for most people, and it would be unbearable. And that's where violence will come. Temper the expectations. For those of us who support this president, look, I'm in America. Listen, I'm living a decent life. If George Weah is not in power, it doesn't kill me, doesn't harm my family financially in any way. But my biggest apprehension is Prince Johnson. Those days were different. The people in Nima were being oppressed. People in Nima were being under, attack from the Doe government. Prince Johnson had some justifiable reason to come and try to protect his people, quote unquote. But now it's not the case. The people in Nima are not under suppression. In fact, the people in Nima are seeing some of the most development under this President Weah's administration. So Prince Johnson shouldn't, try to antagonize anybody to start a riot or quote unquote organic protest against this government that's going to destabilize our country. We saw what happened in Libya. Everybody thought that people were doing the right thing by protesting against Gaddafi. What happened to the country now? It's a mess. So we got to temper these expectations, number one, and then we'll also have to watch our language. I want to be harsher, but I will save it for a different show. But thank you again for the show. I think you've done a good job tonight, Mr. Jai. I think maybe that break gave you some rejuvenation, and you came back with a lot of energy today. So kudos to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me bring in Mr. Aliyu Kamara, a Boakai supporter. Mr. Aliyu, you're live.
Thank you for having me. And I want to say thanks to the panel of Talking Thursday. Let me say a special hello to Mr. Gongo over there. He's very entertaining. And then sometimes I wonder where he gets his information from. And what makes me laugh when he put this information across is the way he could be very serious as if they are facts. Joe Burger appointed God nigga. Joe Burger appointed, Johnson. When did that appointment take place? Never happened. But let's clarify something about this Sunday thing that United Party chose the Christian prayer day. No, the United Party chose Sunday. It was a good decision because first of all, we don't have prayer day in our constitution. There's no day called Sunday prayer day in Liberia. It has just been a tradition where people worship on that day. We don't have religious day in our constitution. So people keep asking the question, what is Joe Boakai's message? And let me announce to most people listening right now, go to joeboakai.com. The arrest document is there in full. It's clear, it's defined, it's explicit, and I think a competent fifth grader can read and understand what is written there. Mr. Jar. Look, let me say this. I have personally called people in the United Party to admonish them to quiet Mr. Johnson a bit. In as much he has every right to his freedom of expression, but again, He's Prince Johnson. He's not me. I can say what I want to say, and people might not even watch. But he's Prince Johnson. He's not me. But, look, Dennis, it has been a wonderful show here. Joseph Boakai is the man of the day. Let me just say this before I go. Mr. Gogo over there was the assistant minister at Labor, if I still remember. And he enjoyed government facility. The government that he said put the country in reverse. He had government-issued car. Mr. Gogo over there, I know for a fact that he used to get slipped for gasoline from the same government that put the country in reverse. And his brother, for which he is all over the place here gallivanting, was Solicitor General of the Republic of Liberia, and he was also Minister Proper of the Ministry of Labor. So if Ellen Johnson said he put the government in reverse, well, she had to have done it through the people who were actually running the government, which is the two Bongo brothers. But thank you for having me, man.
Thank you. Let me bring Maurice Gassama.
Can I comment on that?
Please jot it down. Let's get through the course quickly. Maurice, you're live.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ja. And I hope you just give me like 2-3 minutes because I've been here for a little while.
It's first come, first serve.
Let me start with, yeah, I know, Ja. Let me start with Mr. Gongo. You see, I mean, I don't get it why the people that support, some of the people that support this candidate, they're so bitter towards Joe Boakai, that even the person who they're speaking for. Because many times I've listened to Mr. Gongo, when he came to Philadelphia. We had a program at the church, Philadelphia, Woodland. I moderated our program. We have Mr. Gongo on the show for like an hour. I've listened to Mr. Gongo at 9. This man have said time and again that, look, anything that will make Weah not to go back to power, I will contribute to that. Anything. That anything could be, if Joe Boakai is the front runner, Joe Boakai is the person that is supposed to take Weah from there, he will support Joe Boakai. But here is Mr. Gongo that's speaking for the brother of Mr. Gongo.
Gongo has never said you support Boakai.
You saying that Weah can never be president, Boakai cannot be president. I don't know.
Can you write it down, Mr. Gongo?
No. I cannot allow him to carry on this information. That's not true. Councilor Gongo has never said that.
But Terrible, you have to allow the caller to
I can't allow caller to go on wrong information. You can jet me.
I mean, some of the things the caller are saying, you will not agree with everything, but we have to allow them to focus.
Only focusing on
That's tolerance.
But Prince Johnson was saying if this happens, this is what will happen. In the same tune, Ayeke was speaking. Maurice talked about the threatening that the guys were making, how you call it, the Akaras Grey, all these guys, because in 2017, when the CDC realized that the people favor them, so they were making all the threatening statements that, look, there will be bloodbath, King Himadu died. They said all these things. Because why? They saw that the people were gravitating towards them. The people were favoring them. So it's the same thing. If the realize that people favor them, they will make some of these statements. It's up to the election commission to do the right thing. So I don't see where the problem is.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me take the next caller here. That's Jimmy Eastman.
Hey, Ja, and all your doc, how you doing? Gongo, what's up,
man?
Hey,
Jimmy, how you doing?
I'm calling you from my sick bed. I've been there with you tonight, but
sorry, man.
Interesting and very entertaining. Okay, I want to make one comment though. There is a trend I'm seeing. I am seeing the UP campaign employ all kinds of deceptive techniques. I'm not saying this is not politics. I saw what happened with Cummings. I saw what happened with Uri. I saw what happened with Costa. I saw what happened with Yumbly. And someone employing these deceptive techniques, yet people have faith this man will bring something good.
What do you mean deceptive techniques?
They went into to collaborate together in the CPP. And when it came down to go to the convention to contest to who would be, there was a decision made by UP that Joey Boakai should be anointed, and they should have no contest. That is not what they agreed to from the beginning. That is deceptive. And what happened in the end, not only was the whole process disrupted, then he even went to the extent of accusing one of your collaborators of a crime and disgracing him in court. That is the kind of deception I'm talking about. The same thing happened with Costa, the same thing happened with Uri, the same thing happened with Youngly. But yet they think that this man is going to be good. This is a show of desperation on the part of an old politician who can't do any other job but work in the government for some more years.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Also, Prince, no, but what I want to finish with Prince. Prince Johnson is also using verbiage that is divisive, that is explosive, that will plunge us into something we cannot get out of. There's nothing, when you see these signs on the wall, and just because it's in your favor, Corona, just because it's in your favor, it will blow up in your face, because these things are they're not virtues. They have a way of backfiring. Never back things that are wrong. I don't care. If you lose, but be a good person. But don't win and condone any evil act or deceptive action. These things backfire. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Jimmy. And callers, please be brief. We got to leave soon. Flomo Livingston.
Yeah, so that's not been fake. You all the callers, all the winning.
Live not fail. Yeah.
I know. That's okay.
Your Prince Johnson have been revived by Morris Command.
Great show. I mean, I know life is not fair, but criticizing JMB. No, great show today. Some callers, especially the ANC folks, are arrogant. They keep talking about JMB, where JMB plan. Well, I didn't hear them asking about George Weah plan. I don't know about that. They can't ask George Weah about that plan on the JMB. And they keep saying, they're coming out on the 6th. How many times will CCP come out? They came out on the Thursday again. It was horrible. Now they want to come out. They're coming out again on what? On the 6th? To do what? No, they ain't going anywhere. So we're not focusing on that. That's why we keep focusing on George Weah. Mr. Calabo, Mr. Gongolo, I have respect for you. But you criticizing Prince George, you're killing people. But any Johnson who sponsored child terror to kill Liberian, you still working in government. Why did you work in government if you said Prince Johnson is a murderer? Eddie Johnson is a murderer by sponsoring child terror to kill. We shouldn't be hypocrite here.
Does not want me to comment.
So, make a lot of allegations.
You're the defense today, Calabo.
You say Ellen sponsor child stealer?
That's not fact.
Yes. On tape, she get money.
What did she say she get the money for?
Weapons.
The guy lying. The thing is well documented.
Hold on, Mr. Gonglo. When you were quoting all the people you talked to, nobody called you up.
Yeah,
I'm coming back. Yeah, I'm coming back.
Yeah, go ahead. 30 seconds.
Okay, yeah, Gongo. Again, you're making a lot of false statements. Moses Blai, I know it's a Moses Blai who's
Joshua.
He's not the Joshua. Okay, he's not a religion advisor to Ambassador Boakai. That's a complete lie. That's not true. So don't say that. All this statement making is not true. When it comes to the election, we already know. Whatever Prince Johnson said, for me, it's not my problem. That's Prince Johnson is an adult. He lived by his own words. So, again, crowd politics is kind of important. In 2008, Obama put on crowd. And he ended up winning that election.
Thank you.
So you can't swing it by crowd politics. All the hypocrites, all the people are calling today saying all the bad thing about DMV's old and so look. I'm not focusing on age. We all getting old. Now we reach again, then we'll be calling on old. We shouldn't be saying that, man. We shouldn't be discriminating against age.
Thank you.
All right.
Politics.
Thank you.
Politics can be a contact sport. Darling Warwood, you have 1 minute.
That's okay.
Go ahead, darling.
Yeah, so I just want to sound this warning to all Liberians that we should learn to manage our anger. It is good to be angry, but anger management is key. George Weah came to power because of anger. Liberian people were so angry with LA and the massive corruption associated with administration. And so, out of anger, they elected George Weah, even though they didn't know where he was leading them to. And I see them doing the same thing again. I would not say the same for 1997. I wouldn't say that they were angry. That's what they brought the elected Taylor. That election was characterized by a whole lot of philosophies. One happened to be that Taylor would have returned to the bush how he lost the election. So I wouldn't say the same for that. But I would say 2017 election, it is anger. Out of anger, the Liberian people elected George Weah. Out of the same anger, they are running behind Joseph Boakai today. I don't know Joseph Boakai is somebody new that they just getting a year about. I don't understand. And the train that this young man is bringing, that train has Ebola, coronavirus, disease, corruption. I mean, everything. Sophisticated criminals are all on that train. And that train, when that train dock at the port of Monument, is going to be disastrous. So you please think carefully and not use anger to elect people. Joseph Boakai has been in government for what? 46 years? What new is he bringing to the table? You got considered gumbo. Joseph Boakai has corrupted the prince. You think when Boakai wins, he's going to establish a World Economic Crime Court? It's not going to happen. Boakai has on his string corruption king court at his dollar. This man is not serious. The very man he paid for his defeat, that man is not cool, looted while he was co-chair on Waste, Means and Finance. They looted that capital building. That's how he got promoted all over the place.
Amen.
So let us manage our anger, or else the anger will land us into another 6 years of disaster.
Thank you.
Dennis, 1 second, one last thing. Salary disparity in Liberia is a serious issue. Somebody is making $50 while somebody is sitting in a capital building making $8,000. You guys are not making enough about this thing. This is one of the things that got us so poor.
Call me tomorrow. Let's talk about that.
I would definitely call you because it's something that we have to talk about, and we need to amplify. We need to let people know a year about it. It has to be solved. It has to be addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's take our last caller for the night. That's Freeman. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
Freeman from Austin, Texas.
Go ahead, Freeman.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment quickly on the analysis my brother was giving, Mr. Morris, about Prince Johnson's statement and comparing it to that of Dr. Famula's statement in 1997. Now, when Dr. Famula made that statement, Dr. Famula had always spoken in philosophical terms, and his statement at the time meant to say that he did not trust the guys who were taking leadership over him. If he had not won an election, he would be going to the mountains. Somebody said, obviously, he would be leaving the country, and that's what Dr. Famula meant. If he did not trust you, he would not be around for you to govern him, because he wouldn't believe that you're president for him at the time. With Prince Johnson, my brother Morris got to understand that this guy has no credible record that we can boast of. The man's statement was complete threat, and that's not the first threatening statement that he has made. Unfortunately, Liberia today does not have any form of system where people can be checkmated for statements that they've made because maybe government is not too interested in that. But if Prince Johnson made his statement, let us tell the facts that we disagree with certain parts of his statement, even though he may be supporting candidates that we also associate ourselves with and support. But we also have to be honest enough and say we don't support or we don't agree with some of the statements that he made. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. That's all the callers we have for tonight. I'll let Dr. Douglas go first to respond to our callers.
Well, just to say thanks for watching and reacting to what we say. I think people have their opinion, and you can't really dispute, what I believe in. So I'm not really going to add anything to, I don't have anything specific to respond to.
Thank you. Mr. Gonglo. You have to unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, Dennis, I just want to make comment on two callers, really, two UPists, provocateurs who've called tonight. I just want to, kind of redundant logic they try to propound. I want to deal with it. Because I hear this stuff saying, oh, Gonglo, you work in a United Party government. What some of them don't know is that, and here is my record. In 1997, I was the chair of the group that petitioned Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to contest in 1997. So my relationship with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf did even many years before 2005 election. Even a group that I would say was the leading group in the United States, Librarians for Earth in Life. That acronym, in fact, was I coined that acronym. And I organized that group as the organizing chair. I even appointed Amara Corner and appointed Sekou Kole the same day when I stepped aside because I was in grad school at the time. So my relationship with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf go far more deeper. But when I did that for the country. Jeremiah Heenan, who was the AD, came to the president, actually walked to Labor Ministry and grabbed me and said, you must be Deputy Minister or Minister to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. You cannot sit in this corner and say, I don't do my life like that. In 1997, after the election, Sirleaf called me to Meswagon office and said, Gonglo, the election wouldn't win. What do you want me to do? I walked away from her in the presence of Jeremiah Heenan. I said, I didn't support you because I wanted a reward from you. I'm okay with it win, and I walk out. 2 years later, I got a job with the UN all by myself and went to East Timor. That's my life history, okay? I work for Sirleaf. It's true. But Dennis gave me a little bit of time. I would, because of words,
I don't know if we have all that time.
I buried some information, even about Kofi Woods I work with. Let's face the fact. I'm like that. Then that's my life. When I saw Sirleaf the first time, when I was the chief technician, I went to so many meetings. I walked to Kofi Woods' office. I said, this lady is going to be corrupt. Let's leave the government. Let us not say that. Kofi Woods is alive. He's a Boakai action. Kofi Woods wrote Ellen Johnson Sirleaf asking her that there was corruption in the government. He was not satisfied. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf replied and said, resign if you're not satisfied. Action, he will tell you. That letter should be in a black suitcase today. Okay? I, Caleb Gonglo, I made that argument. Okay? I was a technician advising him. I saw things. Second round, I wrote her. At the end of the second round, I said, Madam, thank you for the opportunity. I don't intend to continue with your second term. And I left the country. She did call me to say, you'll be deputy minister, don't leave. I said, no, I don't want to. I want to be, I have a young family. The first time I'm saying this publicly, because of some of the illogical argument by Boakai followers who will never be president. I get that. They are frustrated. I get it. I will say this publicly tonight, okay? So to say John Molu, who is supporting Boakai today, when Boakai was vice president, what did John Molu say? John Molu said the government Boakai was serving was 3 times corrupt than Julie Bryant. And John Molu was serving in our government. Did he resign? He made a statement the first year of his entry in the government. And he stayed there for additional 3 years, 4 years together. When he first charged the government of being 3 times corrupt than Judy Bryant government. Did he resign? That was his opinion. And he was the Auditor General of the Republic. Okay?
All right.
Where is he today? He's supporting Boakai. So let me tell you.
Mr. Gonglo, I'll leave you up 30 seconds to conclude.
I will end on this. I serve my country. I did not serve UP. I served my country, okay? When I was starting, I can't even say all the things before maybe it may not be appropriate tonight. But no Boakai supporter should push me to the level. It is Boakai who said they squander opportunity. It is Boakai who refused to be audited by the GSC. It is Boakai who refused to account for the $17.4 million, according to Boyma Kamara, the last finance minister of the Unity Party government.
Which
He
17
said
million?
Boakai
Which 17 million? Which 17 million?
17 million over the period of 12 years. That is the money disbursed to Boakai office for logistics, for salary, for entertainment. Amra Kone as finance minister, in the last 3 years of Boakai of the term, Amra Kone allotted $1.1 million in entertainment for Boakai. I know for a fact that was a campaign contribution. The records are there at PBCC, entertainment. I know this for a fact. Don't make me to diverse some information that I know about you. This old man is a paragon of corruption, and you don't admit that. It's a perfect example of corruption and misrule. That's Boakai.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Krumah, 1 minute.
No. You can't do that to me, Dennis. After all of what this man said,
I have to respond to the
callers. After all what the man has said,
30 seconds.
You can't do that. You can't do that to me, Dennis.
I'll give you 1 minute of my time.
Yeah, it'll be unfair for you to do that to me. Some of the callers, I took note on some of the callers that I want to respond to. The one Tottenham guy that said, "What is Boakai message?" He probably wasn't listening to me, and I explained that. I told him that Weah got elected without a message, and so I don't know what kind of message we're talking about, but GMB has gone around and talked about arrest. He has talked about what this 6 years have. How these 6 years have been a failure on the Liberian part, and they've seen what 12 years of the UP administration before Weah has done. So they'll tell the difference between them. I hear another caller talking about how the party people are arrogant, and they're trying to bamboozle their way to power. Using all these big terminologies. I don't know what that means. I don't know where the arrogance is coming from. I don't know why people taking one talk show host that uses the word arrogant on a particular political party, you take it and start running with it and making all these assumptions about arrogant. I don't know what in Unity Party that is arrogant. He didn't give any specifics about it, but I'll leave that to him. And then Elvis came out about talking about how the opposition need to tone down, something about toning down because Maserado in 2020 was George Weah's stronghold. Maybe he hasn't seen the data from the 2020 election. Maybe he hasn't seen it, but I will encourage him to go back. The information is out there online. Just Google Liberia election 2020, Liberia senatorial election 2020, and see how Darius Dillon defeated Thomas Fowler. Elections is a number game. So you have to see how many people support an alternative to the George Weah administration. It wasn't only Dillon and Thomas Fowler that were in the election in 2020. There were several political parties that were in the elections. So all of the people that did not support Thomas Fowler means they did not support a CDC candidate. They supported either Darius Dillon or several other people that were in that race at the time. So if you put all that number together, it means all those people opposed a CDC candidate. So CDC was not in any kind of commanding lead in 2020. And it means that CDC couldn't do anything about it. It's a majority rule game. Majority won the race, and that's how Darius Dillon got elected. I hear Mr. Eastman also talk about how when it came down to the convention, the party people were deceptive. The old man is deceptive. And how, the whole thing about CPP ended because somehow, the party wanted Boakai and the CPP gang did not want Boakai. The party were demanding Boakai to be the stand-up bearer. This is how misinformation makes it to our public space, and people take it and they start running with it. It's dishonorable to make such a statement when you don't have all of the facts. I urge you, Mr. Eastman, to go about, ask your own people inside the ANC. Ask them about the actual reason why the CPP did not hold. It wasn't because of any kind of convention that the party did not want to go to convention. It wasn't because of that. I'm sure you are aware of some of the facts. I'm sure you are aware of it because you make the claim about going to court. And the fact that case didn't even want to court in the first place, why did URED not support, why did the URED not support Cummings if that was the case of just JMB being deceptive? It means URED should have supported Cummings in this case, but URED did not. and you're still making the assumption that somehow JMB bamboozled his way and convinced you to be on his side. I mean, you are an intelligent person. I can hear from the way you speak. I know you are very intelligent. So you're supposed to be able to read between the lines and see what are the facts and how some of these things are just politically motivated. But you're not doing that. But you make all these claims. And then somehow somebody said that, because HB said, going to the mountain, it only mean that you're running away from the country. You can't make such a. You are interpreting the way you interpret HB statement about going to the mountain. I interpreted the way I want to interpret. At the time, like I said, I was very young, but I also saw newspaper headlines that said HB is threatening potential rebels, something, whatever. I forgot it. It's been so long. But I know it became a national conversation because HB said he was going to the mountain. But I was fascinated by his eloquence. And so somehow I followed that conversation a whole lot.
Now, so that made Prince Johnson right or something. I don't see the connection.
No. The caller was trying to give a justification why HB statement, and I'm responding to the caller. The caller said that HB went to the mountain and he was leaving the country. And and I'm only saying it because I'm saying that statement created a national conversation because people made assumption that the statement was basically about him trying to establish some kind of warring faction to come back in the country to fight. I know it became on newspaper headlines and stuff.
All right.
So now, on my brother Caleb, I have to respond to Caleb.
Yeah, but you have 30 seconds now. Man.
It's only fair to respond to Caleb. Caleb made all these outrageous statements about, about the Unity Party and how, GMB is corrupt and all. Listen, Caleb, you and I work in government for a while. We have the obligation to speak sometimes based on our experience. And I know, I will be the first person to tell you publicly that yes, indeed, there was corruption in Ellen Johnson's Sirleaf government. I'll say it any day. I've said it so many times. When I even work in the government, I talk about how corruption was in the government. We have the obligation to say that. But when you use this attempt of $17 million being somehow it was absconded, by the vice president at the time for his own personal gain, it's misinformation you're providing the people, Caleb, and you know it. Just give me a chance. You spoke.
What does the PFN law say?
I did not stop you when you spoke. Please give me a chance. You made a claim of the 12 years that $70 million somehow disappeared when.
Not a claim. The finance minister, Boima Kamara.
Caleb, $17 million inside the. First of all, contextually speaking, under President Sirleaf, and I know that at least 75% of all government expenditure were used somehow as recurring cost. You know that. I know that. You know that most of all of the money that the revenue that came in during the Ellen Johnson government time were either used for salaries, were used for gas, were used for scratch cards, some of the things that you actually benefited more because at the time you were in a way higher position than me, who was just like a technician running around taking notes for people. So gas, scratch card, car, travel, all that stuff. Those are the things that most of government money was used for. So when somebody tell you that $17 million, you're making it seem as though they brought $17 million in a grip and they took it and put it to the vice president and say, His Excellency JMB, here's $17 million. Yeah, take the money and figure out what you want to do with it. It is not true. You're misinforming the people. And you know that, Caleb. You play in politics. Because of your experience of government, people rely on someone like you to be able to provide some of the facts so they can appreciate those information. I told you, I acknowledge that there was corruption in Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government. But let's acknowledge also that most of the revenue, and Boakai Kamara, the same Boakai Kamara you're quoting, have said that several times, that 90% of our revenue that we actually get, we use it somehow to pay people, to buy stationaries, to buy cars, to buy fuel, to buy scratch card. You know that, but you won't turn this thing to politics, and it's unfair. It's really unfair. If I wasn't on this show to correct you and put the checkpoints along the way, this kind of information will just go in the public, and people will just take it in the wrong way all over the place. It will be a fact when it's actually not a fact.
Okay, it's getting late now, man.
Right. So let me announce that tomorrow we're going to have Friday night debate with 18 days to elections. Who will win 2023 presidential election? Join us tomorrow on Friday Night Debate. I will be joined by Mr. Anthony Sia, the political bulldog, to moderate.
Can I
Gentlemen,
join the
thank you
show
so
tomorrow?
much for the time. We
Yes.
appreciate your time. At this time, because this is late, we're going to be closing the show with our closing song that says, "We are all Liberians."
I thought you wanted to speak for 30 seconds.
No, Duke is good now. It's
Can I
way,
join that show tomorrow? The Friday night debate?
it's way after time. Good night, and we want to thank our viewers for always following us. Have a good
Because
night.
tomorrow, I'll join that show tomorrow.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home.